So Blizzard has essentially fucked up. Everything that they've launched as a new system in BFA has just been broken from launch and had needed fixed. Still getting fixed. There's been major issues with them. Everything from Mythic Plus to islands have been fixed and fucked up since beta. And everything's been changed. Warfronts broke the queuing system for the EU, so there's no defending that. But then Blizzard, when people go to their Mythic Plus cache, websites like Wowhead, which were partnered with Blizzard, they reported that you could get between 1 and 3 items in your Mythic Plus cache. And this makes sense because you're basically guaranteed 1 Azerite piece from your Mythic Plus cache, which helps fix things like the fact that Azerite gear is the only thing that changes how your character plays between levels 100 and 120. Well, Blizzard reverted this change and thought that since it was on beta for weeks, that everyone noticed and that was enough, and that what players were testing in beta shouldn't have been thought to be the actual thing, despite many websites that Blizzard had access to, including their own patch notes, reporting, that wouldn't be the case. And then you have idiots on Twitter trying to defend it and being like, well, it was like this in Legion. Listen, it wasn't like this in Legion. Okay, in Legion, you had multiple ways of fucking with how your character played. You had tier sets. You had relics. You had legendaries. Now let's look at what the Mythic Plus cache could give you. It could give you those legendaries. It could give you those relics. Now those relics could be anything minuscule like a percentage damage increase to an increase on how long a cooldown works, or an increase in the percentage chance of a proc, and the legendaries could be even more powerful. Looking at the Rep Paladin Cloak, looking at the Fire Mage Bracers, looking at the Emperor's Capacitor for Windwalker Monks, these could change up how you played depending on what legendaries you have. Azerite armor isn't so much that far, but it can change how you play a little bit. And this does matter because a lot of pieces in Old Year and in like the 2 or 3 other ways that you can get higher level Azerite pieces don't have what players consider the best in slot. And for those of you who don't know, just for Windwalker Monk, I don't know if this is the biggest gap, but Windwalker Monk and Azerite change that has not been changed is Swift Roundhouse. So the difference between Swift Roundhouse and the next trait on the single target trait list in terms of DPS gained is about a 2,000 DPS difference. So what Swift Roundhouse allows you to do is after you do a blackout kick, then your Rising Sun kick does more damage. So that's really powerful, especially with how you can play it. You can play it with your Touch of Death Burst. You can play it with your Serenity really well, actually. It's just really powerful. So when you get into something like the only way to get the higher level pieces that could have your best in slot trait is through Mythic Plus. Well, the Azerite gear is taken out of those loot tables because they don't want them farming those specific dungeons constantly, and placed into the end of week Mythic cache. So it would make sense to have at least 2 pieces, so you wouldn't just get the 1 Azerite piece, because you're going from a pool of about 50 pieces at least to try and get it. And you'd want a piece that you could actually use. Also, the Azerite system in itself doesn't really make sense. You could go from having a heroic piece fully unlocked to having a mythic piece of the same gear with like nothing unlocked, really. Maybe the first trait. See, it doesn't really make sense, and it doesn't feel good for progression. And Blizzard's excuse for nerfing the amount of loot that you get from the cache is like, oh, well, some people felt like shit when they only got the 1 piece. It's like, okay, cool, so you just nerf everyone to only get 1 piece instead of like I don't know, equaling out to 2. Oh, and by the way, people were trying to defend this, saying that it didn't change from Legion. I just explained how it did. The only way that you alter your character gameplay is now locked behind a mythic cache. Congratulations, it's severely RNG. Then, this has just been a thing with a lot of Blizzard changes. In fact, the Master Loot change, they argue against the Master Loot change, and they actually argue in favor for it. So it feels shitty when someone only gets one piece of gear, right? So the one person feels shitty if they only get one piece of gear. But then later on, I can't remember exactly where it was, but they argue that it's a good thing it was actually in removing Master Looter. Because, like, oh, hey, the trial deserves to get loot, and it's good for the team, so the guild should feel good that at least the trial got loot. Right? Well, I mean, if you make that argument, and then you also make the argument where it's like, well, it felt shitty for one person to get only one piece of loot and others to get 3. I want you to take that. It felt shitty for one player to get less loot. And then I want you to take it, and I want you to put it in the argument against Master Looter. It feels shitty if people don't get the loot. It feels shitty if people don't get to control the loot. You argued for Master Looter because it feels shitty if the people don't get the loot. So it feels shitty if person A gets a piece, but person B doesn't. So shouldn't Master Looter be a thing again? That way no gear's being wasted. I mean, that's the thing, right? Blizzard has been really inconsistent with how they want to look at loot. First, Azerite gear was tradable. Then, oh yeah, no, that was a bug on beta. It's not tradable. Then, after the general populace got a hold of it, oh yeah, no, it's tradable now. So they're going by community perception, which explains all of the changes. It explains the Mythic Plus gear swapping change. Oh, well, having multiple pieces of loot to be able to maximize your character, it feels bad. It's bad design. We don't want it that way, which is why we're getting rid of locking you guys in with a 4 set, because then you would run a 2 set and 4 set, and that would just lock down like 6 pieces of gear, 8 pieces if you include legendaries. Like, I don't know about you, but I have a set of healing Azerite gear, and a set of DPS Azerite gear, and a set of AoE DPS Azerite gear, and a set of World Quest gear. The Mythic Plus swapping change didn't affect the people that were complaining about it. You'd have people who hadn't even run plus 10 saying, oh, I'm happy I don't have to swap gear to feel competitive. Same thing with the Mythic raid and the removal of Master Loot. Oh my god, yeah, now the race might be interesting. Listen, the difference between you and your shitty Mythic guild that maybe got 2 or 3 Mythic bosses down by the end of the Legion and Method is huge. Here's the thing, there is a post on MMO Champion where a guy's complaining about the minimum amount of work that he has to do for Mythic rating currently in BFA. He's only using 1 character. Even the fat boss guys are using 3, and they're not aiming for a Mythic race. They're aiming to be able to get content out for guides. What the fuck? So this is going to go into a prediction. Blizzard has been shit with communication. They've been shit in rolling features out. I can only hope and be optimistic that this is because they have something planned. Their plan is 8.1. Now, I really want this to be a thing because I want them to fix everything, and I think they will, because of what I think that 8.1 will have, just going by how their patch system worked in Legion. So, what I mean by this is 8.1 has been rumored to come with allied races, and I think it needs to. I think we need the Coltierans and the Zandalar, and especially the Zandalar, because those were kind of like promoted on the box, really. And I feel like the only reason why we didn't get the Zandalar and we got the Magar Orcs instead is because the Magar Orcs are shaman, and yeah, I don't know, maybe some bullshit. So I'm seeing one new zone, similar to all of the patch zones of prior expansions. 2 new reps, one possibly neutral, and one faction specific, so technically 3 reps. The reps are attached to unlocking the Coltierans and the Zandalar. They're also, of course, attached to Pathfinder Part 2, which will make sense. And then you've also got the continuation of the war campaign. Now, what will this new zone be? Because everyone's expecting Nazjatar, because, oh, it's data mine, that's Datar. Emerald Dream was data mined before too, and we never got it. I'm not saying we're never going to get Nazjatar, but it doesn't make sense to fight Ajara, and then people are saying, oh, we're going to fight Ajara in the second raid. No, that was never stated anywhere. It was never stated that we were going to fight her in the second raid. It stated that we were going to fight her at some point in the expansion. So I'm seeing second tier, maybe. I don't know, maybe end of first tier, but definitely not in the raid that's going to ship with 8.1. 8.1 is probably going to have a Trial of Valor. So what I think the 8.1 zone will be the Blighted Lands. Now, why do I think this? Because everyone's like, oh no, we need to fight Ajara because Nagas are a big deal right now. Just look at Kultiris. Like, they're a big deal in Kultiris. Can't argue that. Not so much a big deal in Zandalar. Oh, but the old gods and N'Zoth. N'Zoth is a thing, but the Blighted Lands makes more sense because one Samdi in the Horde questing talked about a soul. One Samdi also made a deal with King Rastakhan. One Samdi also has a boss. We also know that there are tormented souls in Thros, and that Catherine Proudmoore knows about them. They want to stop the thing in the Blighted Lands. The Drust are back. Whether or not Gorak Tool is dead for good, we have no idea. I feel like he's pulling Freddy Krueger shit somewhere, somehow, maybe. So I think it's going to be that. I think we're going to have a new dungeon. Definitely a new dungeon. Possibly 2, the whole rep thing again. So I'm just going to say 1, though. So we're going to have 1 dungeon, 1 new raid, similar to Trial of Valor. And we're going to have more island expeditions, because that makes sense, especially after you see what you saw in beta, which seems to have been removed, which was more enemies. So I think they have that kind of gated off for 8.1, so they can have more stuff for 8.1, because if you really think about it, we don't have a lot currently. We have, 5 islands or 6 islands or something, and the same amount of enemies. So you're going to have more island expeditions, more mounts and more pets to drop from that. You're going to have another Warfront. This will essentially speed up how the Warfront works. So for now, it's like a once a month thing or once every 2 week kind of thing. Blizzard is also lying about the whole contribute thing, because it's a one-time quest. Woo. We also don't have anything to do with Paragon rep, which I think will be addressed in 8.1. So we'll have the new Warfront, which will make it to where we'll be able to do a Warfront arguably every week, which I think is okay. If they could speed it up to 1 Warfront a week, that would be great. Again, a thing that was changed from live to beta. In beta, it was 3 days. Why was it changed to 7 in live? Why? The waiting period's retarded. So you've got that, and you've got the allied races, the Zandalar and the Kultirans. Maybe at the end of it, kind of hint at Ajara, or at the second raid of the tier. I just want to do the Blighted Lands, honestly. These are my predictions, right? They're going to announce this. They're going to fix the Azerite system. They're going to fix the Mythic Plus drops. They're going to fix a few things. And it's going to be like, oh, we listened to your feedback. And people are going to be like, oh my god, you listened to our feedback. You're great. And in reality, they didn't actually listen. They just, well, they did listen, but they held it off until we needed it. Not something that I would applaud Blizzard for, but at the same time, it's something like, okay, you guys kind of know what you're doing. You're building up controversy to then be like, hey, we took the shit, we made it great, we're still Blizz. So, aces. I mean, that's basically my thought. Blizzard's fucked up a lot. Do I trust them to do any great shit? It's kind of 50-50. They fucked up. They fucked up hardcore. At what point they fucked up and who fucked up entirely, we have no idea. We know that they can do better. We don't want an apology. We just want them to fix it. They will make an apology. They will be, oh, well, we'll do better. We promise. We owe you guys better. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear it. I just want you guys to do it. That's it. Tell me what you think.